this event was the event for children to get in touch, get closer to people that are into science, that are humans like you and me. Anyone can be a scientist, and there's no excuse as to why any child should limit themselves. That's what I would say.
Okay, so it's onwards and upwards for ATL for 2015 on into 2016, and furthermore, I know you've been doing this for many years.
Yes, well, the next thing that I would like to do with ATL is to create a nursery, and in this nursery I would like to have children have a science and language orientation already from a very young age. I think that children shouldn't wait to Key Stage 2 to learn a language, or shouldn't wait any further for science. It starts right in the nursery. So we have the mindset of if we nurture the scientist, the scientific mind of thinking from nursery, I think that is the ground, so children are prepared. There's no I can't attitude. The mindset is right from the very beginning, and the children will see no limitation as to whatever is put in front of them. They will have the thinking of I can do this, that, and beyond. That's the idea.
There was empires in Africa called Kush, Timbuktu, where every race came to get books.
Yeah. I once heard a man say, you don't have to be great to get started, but you have to get started in order to be great.
And today is a Science and Tech, and it's an event to celebrate British Science Week. Who knew it was British Science Week? So, as you're aware, we've had quite a few workshops. We've got a robotics workshop, which has already taken place, and children will be learning basic electronic skills to create your own robots. Who's already done that task? Have you already done that? Yeah? Come here and tell me.
I was doing programming.
Yeah?
Me and Ron.
Come on.
And Abiol.
So this is part of the robotics workshop.
So over there we were doing some programming.
Children will be learning basic electronic skills to create their own robot, designing their own models out of Lego. Did you guys design models out of Lego yet? That's something that you're going to be doing later. And then you'll be adding it to a circuit as well. This takes place on this floor. If you want to take part on it, it is a paid workshop, which is £12, and it lasts approximately 2 hours. And we've got 2 sessions, one taking place earlier on and another one taking place at 12:30. And then there's a solar panel workshop. Has anyone else done that yet? No. Cool. So that's taking place on this floor. That workshop's £8, and that actually starts at 2 p.m, which is why no one's done it. So if you want your child to be nature conscious, then that might be the task for you. Or if you children want to be nature conscious, then that might be something. You're saying yes. Yeah? Cool. And then there's a one-to-one computer coding. I think that's what you guys were doing, yeah? Where you learn basic programming tools to learn how to do your own video game. Ooh! And the workshop is free of charge, but you need to register. But if you can just do that, take over there. So if anyone wants to do one-on-one computer coding, you can do that over there, yeah? So who likes singing and rapping?
Yeah, because I like rap.
You like rapping, singing, rapping? Oh, we're going to do a little something later. You've already done the team building thing where you've done the maze challenge. Who's done the maze challenge? Who's done the bubble science? Lovely. How did you find that bubble science task? It's fine. And what was the... I saw you building this from scratch. You guys done so well. Give them a round of applause. Who saw the bubble task? Who saw that bubble machine? I saw it. Well, good. So tell them about the what you found, how you found that task.
We found it okay, and we.
If you could have done one thing again, what would you do again? If you could start it again, what would you do different? Read the instructions. I bet a few of you guys are going to say that. And what did you like most about that task? The bubbles.
Yeah.
The end result. Cool. Excellent. Well done. So a round of applause for Malachi and his lovely sister who done the task. What was your name? Maya. Malachi and Maya. Well done. And then there was another machine, 3D animations. That was a really young team. No, that was a really young team. I don't think they're here. But they done a task that was spinning round and round. Did you guys see that? That's right. Now with that task, you had to put the men in specific numbers. So if you go ahead and try and do a task or try to build something without watching the instructions or reading the instructions, what happens if you don't read the instructions? You don't get it correct. What else happens?
You might end up doing
Yeah, do something really wrong. It won't work. That's right. So if you don't go ahead and read instructions, you're just making your life a little bit more difficult, right, kids? Have you guys ever watched your dad try and build a table and seen how wrong he goes? Because he hasn't watched the instructions, you know? So it's all about that. So even in school in tasks, just read the instructions. It makes your life so much easier, right, kids? Cool. Her name is Brenda Nebura. Well pronounced. And she's perfect. She's the deputy head at St Matthew's Academy, who'll be speaking about the winning attitude necessary to achieve and excel in science and any other subject. So can we have a round of applause for Brenda?
It's been great working with you this morning. I was really, really surprised at how well you did. So, technology today is failing a little bit, but we're going to do the best that we can. When I prepared this, it was really for young people, not quite as young as yourselves, so you're going to have to bear with me, and I'm going to have to try to adapt what I'm saying as well. So, I'm hoping that we can talk about how to prepare for a world of science and technology. If everything goes according to plan, you'll understand a definition of science and technology. You'll look at careers linked to science and technology and how to be successful in studying science and technology. And then there's some key words which I've heard some of you using already. Science, technology, engineering, maths, careers, and mindset. I got quite excited when I heard somebody mention mindsets earlier on, because I'm all about that. So the first thing I was going to say to you is that computer games can be used for learning. The computer can be used for learning. I mean, really, really. Rather than being on, I don't know, you're too young to be on Facebook anyway, you can use technology to help you to learn. And some interesting research is that in this country, about 70% of teenagers or young people have handheld games consoles. And about 90% of you have a computer at home and a mobile phone, even at your age probably. Hands up if you've got a mobile phone. Hello. This is one of my students. Right, but teachers, of course, unlike myself, most teachers don't own any of that. They don't own handheld consoles. You've thrown me now. They don't own handheld consoles and they don't use technology to help students to learn. But there are lots of different things that you can do using technology to learn better.
So we're now going to be working with a team called WISE, W-I-S-E, which stands for Women in Science and Engineering. And Abby Cecil is the lady that's going to be leading that. So can we have a round of applause please for Abby?
I'm going to talk about a very similar thing than the lady who just went up before me. So science, technology, engineering and maths. Can someone tell me what the abbreviation for that was?
STEM.
Yeah, so I'm going to talk to you about STEM stuff today, but in particular, technology and programming. So who had a go at the programming challenges today? Oh, who did some programming? Who did a little bit of robotics? Yeah? Great. I study computer science, so I'm a computer scientist in training, or a programmer in training. One of the first programmers was a young lady called Ada Lovelace. And this was ages and ages and ages ago. This was about 200 years ago. And this lady called Ada, she was married to a very, very wealthy man. And she worked as, and she loved doing her hair, and she loved going out, and she loved having her makeup done, and she was a very, very girly girl. Her father said, oh, we don't want you getting into, we don't want you getting into programming or anything like that. You need to do something nice like dance or something else. But she did do a lot of research for a man called Charles Babbage. And part of her research, Charles Babbage was the friend of the first computers. It's a big, big machine that you saw earlier. That is probably a descendant of the first computer, of Charles Babbage's ideas. And so this lady, Ada Lovelace, she was writing a paper about the world's first computer. And she said, well, hang on a minute. How do I give this computer instructions? How is that going to work? And so in her little research paper, she wrote some notes on the side and she said, well, I think it should work like this. Like you said, I think you should be able to write some instructions into a computer and then it does what you tell it to. And I think you should be able to do that in whatever language you want. And she had lots and lots of really, really interesting ideas about how interesting computers work. And so, Ada Lovelace was the first computer programmer. So it wasn't like one of those guys with crazy wiry hair that was muttering about and walking around like that. She was a very prim and proper young lady who probably strolled around like this, and went and got her makeup done and her hair done, and wore dresses down to the floor. And that was the world's first computer, well, the world's contested first computer programmer.
Who is just arrived here for the second half just now? Majority of you guys. Okay, so we've been going on since 10 o'clock. We've had a few activities on the table where that little bunch of people that are working with the games. We had some of the kids that are at the front here actually make them from scratch, so they actually had to work as a team together and find out how to actually make it work. So you guys feel free to play with those games over there. I'm now introducing our third person that's going to be speaking today. Or actually fourth now, and her name is Dr. Antonio Osama. Don't forget to ever call doctor by that prefix there, doctor. You can't just say them by their name. So, Dr. Antonio Osama, and she came from Nigeria when she was a young girl, and she's now a GP practitioner, and she'll explain her journey to why she became a doctor. So can we have a round of applause for her?
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so my name's Antonia. I always say my name's just Dr. Antonia. Sometimes people don't know how to pronounce my surname, so I just say Dr. Antonia. So I'm quite tall, so I'm going to sit down so the little ones can see me. Okay? Who can tell me what that is? I want someone else. Can you tell me what that is? Huh?
Microscope.
Well done, that's the microscope. So at university, I ended up doing a lot of that, looking down microscopes. My university was called Queen Mary, and that was in East London. Oh, you know a lot about the news. I did biomedical sciences, and I made loads of new friends. There's so many new people to meet at university. They came from all different backgrounds because at my school everyone was from the same place and lived next to each other. But university is so much bigger. Everyone comes from everywhere. And also part of university was also still wanted to help young people. So I went to colleges and schools and helped them along with their work and things like that. So I worked really hard as well. It was a lot of fun. You make new friends, you do new things, but also you have to study, and you end up doing a final project, which is all in the lab. You spend hours in the lab, hoping things grow, okay? And then I ended up getting a bachelor's of science, because when you finish university and you do sciences, you get a bachelor of sciences. So that's a really proud moment. Because you have this really big degree and you say, that's my achievement. After all these years, they give you a piece of paper. Anyways, it was still good, okay? It's fun, but, I really didn't enjoy working in the lab after that. I didn't really get to meet people because all my time I was meeting new people. I was still curious. But this time I was working on things about, curing people, but I wanted to be able to talk to people. I wanted to communicate with them. And I wanted to see if what I was doing was making a difference in their lives. So, I went to another school. So this time I applied for medical school because I thought, okay, I did want to be a doctor, but science and experiments was what I really wanted to do, but it wasn't quite me. So remember, even if you do something and you find out you don't enjoy it, you can do something else. You don't have to just give up and say, well, I just have to do it. You can do something else and try it out.
We're here at the ATL Learning Centre Science and Tech event over here in Deptford. This is part of Dr. Christie representing and covering the event. We're here with Dr. Antonia. She has just done a great presentation in regards to inspiring young people to look maybe into the medical field. Let's get a little bit of background on Dr. Antonia and what it is exactly that you do.
Okay, so hello, my name is Dr. Antonia and I am a GP, which is a family doctor. What inspired me to join with the talk with the ATL Centre is I've always wanted to give back. Now, I went to school in quite a deprived area of North London and I didn't really see many doctors growing up, except for the GPs that I went to. And when I told people I wanted to be a doctor, they said, why don't you just become a nurse, you know? So what I wanted to do was for all young people like me, that look like me, or from where I come from, to see that you can, from nothing, become something great. And it doesn't matter if it's being a doctor, a lawyer, a singer, anything. If you put your mind to it, you can do anything. So I think that's what I wanted to do, inspire them to, you know, find something they loved, stick with it, and be really, really, really happy doing it.
Okay. Especially working with people in the diaspora,
yes.
And as you said, you wanted to, bring people from your community who look like you and inspire them to become doctors. Yes. This may sound funny, but nowadays it's children's cartoon, Doc McStuffins.
Yes.
Do you think that has made a difference to young children growing up, wanting to see an image that looks like themselves, to inspire them to, start uptaking? Looking into doctors, even though it's starting with stuffed toys,
yes.
Yet the whole point of that imagery
yes.
is very, very powerful. What do you think about that?
I think image is a powerful thing. I think what you put out there is what people look at. And if they see images of people that are not themselves be something, they probably think that if they don't look like that, they can't be that. I think Dr. McMuffins has done great things because when I go into toy shops, I go to Disney, then I see loads of people picking up the toys. I even bought one for my little niece because it's not really about being a doctor as if it's to say it's such a prestigious thing. I think it's just seeing success, and I think that's the most important thing. That when we look at the media and we see people who look like us, we don't want to see negative things because sadly we see a lot of that already. I think we want to empower young people to see positive things about themselves, so people doing well in anything. So if it's, being the best cook you can be, at least you see someone who looks like you, that is, because we are a minority, and I think it's quite important that if we're going to put our images across, they should be positive ones for young people, so they can see that they can do anything they aspire to be, no matter what it is, you can do anything.
Okay, and just very, very, very quickly, just one more final question. Being that you're a doctor, how do you perceive, when you go into the medical profession, the African holistic attitude towards medicine,
Right.
How does that play a part or not play a part in the medical profession today?
Okay, I think one misconception that people have is that when you go and see a doctor, the first thing they do is throw tablets and at you and potions and things like that, which is actually not the case. I mean, the way I practice is I think your diet and your lifestyle is the most important thing. So a lot of patients who come to me, let's say diabetic for example, the first thing I want to know is what do you eat, what do you cook with, what kind of foods do you eat, because we can explore that and make sure it's actually healthy for you. We can also look at exercise, and I also I'm quite a big believer in the mind and the power of the mind and how important it is for people to keep their mind clear and restful. So, my mum, believes in, herbs and things like that. And, I also believe that there are certain foods that are actually very good for us. Plantain, palm oil, I'm all for that. So I think, you can work in partnership, but I think when the condition is very severe and you become very unwell, then I think it's time that if we know that some medicines and antibiotics or pharmaceuticals work, I think we should give it a try. So you can work in conjunction, and the two can marry each other together as long as they understand that they can be separate too. But when times get hard and when diet holistics are not working, then you need to recognize recognise that it's a time probably to seek someone who's a bit more specialist in that field who can help you.
Okay. I'd like to thank Dr. Antonia for giving us time on Gotkush TV. Thank you very much. You've done a great presentation, and I hope some of these young people here today have been inspired, based on what you said, to start looking into, as you said, just not the doctor's profession or medical profession, but a higher profession, and to set them goals at a certain level.
I think just to end up, I think the key thing is to motivate young people to understand that there are careers out there that they probably think they can't get into, but they can. And the more of us, of ethnic minorities, that are in that position of, let's say, power, then you can actually change things. But if you're not there, you won't be able to change things for other people that like you. Okay?
Dr. Antonia, thank you very much. This is Gotkush TV. We're going to move on to the next guest very, very shortly. We're here with GKTV. We're coming to the end of the event now. Watched some great presentations shown. One of the great presentations that I saw was by Astamari here. He spoke about coming from more Afrocentric view in regards to aspects of the science. Definitely dealing with the numbers and the binary. Give us a little bit of information of exactly that which you do.
Okay, I am Astamari Bartok from Schools of Unified Learning. I'm the principal teacher for our Cultural Arts Foundation. And so we have a teaching discipline which we call Yutumar Urket, which means unified knowledge, and it's a Pan-African cultural approach to learning which integrates learning. It brings together the arts and the science and the math. These ideas in the standard system of education, these things are fragmented, but in our approach we unify them. So the presentation I gave today was looking at one of the processes that we use around language, which opens it out, so that in language we should have, as well as a good script with a good base of sound attached to the script, which the Ethiopian script has that. We should also have ideas of sign language, ideas of number value, ideas of musical value, so that you can convert a word into many different forms, thereby opening all faculties for learning. So for today, because it's Science Week, we presented this as part of the language of science like this. That's what we did today.
Okay, you touched on definitely some great aspects there, especially when you look at the African holistic form of education, because as you said, in the environment we're in at the moment, things are very much fragmented, and if your teaching becomes fragmented, you the person becomes fragmented, where we was very holistic initially in the way that we taught and we approached things. An event like this today, what is the importance of having such events which have a great range of different sciences, and then once these have been portrayed in events like this, how do we then take it to another level to amalgamate this all into one form of education?
Okay, well it's a very important thing, so I commend the ALT for organising it, and particularly the robotics. This program, we also had a program regarding Schools of Unified Learning and the Abundance Centres UK Trust, which I'm a member of this. We also had a Science Week program and we featured this event inside our program. So it stood distinctly regarding robotics, and not many of our community tackle that kind of technology in terms of advancing it. Obviously, it's a universal science, and mathematics as it stands are universally accessible. But that said, there are communities that are very far removed from it, even more far removed than people in the country generally are. So it's important to, one, to bring the subjects forward, and two, to try and make it accessible to communities that don't normally access it. So yeah, it's very special for that.
And this is a course that you're running over the period of this week. Do you run many courses, and are your courses accessible for people all over London?
Okay, well actually this is a program for Science Week. Our program, which was You Learn Naturally Science Week 2015, was a program of promoting science from African perspectives. And so we've had a number of events over the whole time. Now, that's for this week. Our intention is to have another program like this, another Science Week program in September, and then from that point to have them every quarter, every 3 months, and that's just for the Science Week. But actually the trust, Abundance Centres UK Development Trust, is about securing spaces and developing spaces for learning and developing cooperatives. It's actually a learners cooperative, so we're structured to be an umbrella organisation to support. It could be collectives of parents, collectives of teachers, collectives of professionals in any field of education related to form good structures that then can get resources and be supported by an umbrella entity, so we're the umbrella for that. Today I spoke for Schools of Unified Learning, which is a member of this. And so, there's a couple of different hats that we wear for that. In regard to course, what I spoke on today is part of a course called Educating with Unified Knowledge, Foundation 1. And so that can be accessed through our online portal at abundancecentre.org. There's a course, Educating with Unified Knowledge, Foundation Course 1, and this explains fully the value of recognising a cultural orientation in your learning pedagogy, as in your learning approach, what the cultural value is, in recognising clearly what the objectives are, and also in recognising what the principles, processes and protocols are that you use to achieve the objectives. So we spell it out, and today I gave out a one-page summary. It sounds like a lot, but it is. You can put it on one page and summarise it, so it cannot be that much really. But that said, each element, because everyone is used to a very fragmented standard system as normal, it appears holistic measures or holistic approaches appear maybe abstract or unachievable. But the truth is that education in Europe is reforming. Education globally is reforming, and standard systems of education in Europe are recognizing systemic problems in regard to STEM. In regard to STEM, let alone STEAM. STEAM is with the A's with arts, bringing together the STEM. But in the business of science, technology, engineering, math, there's insufficient take-up by young people and families. Thereby, the technology and the innovation that's required to keep economies working in a certain way, this is failing. There are other reasons for the failures, but
we're going to explore that.
That's another reasoning. But the education system, the national, the governance of the country recognise it as a problem. So these things are very important, and our work we feel it's a ground effort, even in terms of families owning the education process. So we have a term, we say family-directed learning. And with the learning pedagogy, we want families to know that they can, if they think it through, they study a course like the one that's illustrated here, Educating with Unified Knowledge, Foundation Course 1, that you can reclaim your ability to hold family-directed learning, to master family-directed learning, and to have it more power. Then networking families around that, there's a power for that. Okay. That's a real community innovation that can happen with that. Or even the language that I would use is a disruptive innovation. That is something that can just change the whole game. The thing that's been happening, a lot of concern with families about underachievement, lack of inclusion, exclusion, and all manner of bad character, poor character development, all these concerns that communities have. Something like this can radically change that.
Okay. Well, I mean, that has been very, very interesting, and I know there's a lot more and things that you cover. So maybe in the future, I'm presenting on a radio show. You can definitely come in and spend some time. We can explore these finer details a lot more. The show that I do is supported by Gotkush TV. So anything that we do, sometimes the cameras come up there and we can create an event of it, so we can further empower our people to understand, especially the avenue that you're coming from, which is the holistic view of education. This is something we definitely need to take on board. So I'd like to thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And I really appreciate you coming down to this ATL event.
It's wonderful. I commend the team, the ATL Learning Centre team. I've known the development for a long time, so I know Sister Rohole and her team in regard to this, and it's kept consistency and determination.
Most definitely.
We need that. The community needs that.
We're sitting here at the ATL Learning Centre Science and Tech event. I'm here with Brenda Nagarala. Nagarado. Okay, it's the first time introduction. Okay, but we're working with it. You are a deputy head teacher. Okay, what inspired you to come down here and get involved in the science tech fair?
Well, I knew that they were looking for somebody to talk to young people about getting into science and technology, because careers, and that's really what I'm about. I think a lot of the students that I've worked with have gone into science and technology careers, and without even realising it at the time, I think their science lessons and that whole experience at school has inspired them to go on to study science and technology.
Right, okay. Within the school system, how do you feel that young Nubian children achieve? Is there a serious case of underachievement? Is it issues you find at home? What do you find some of the core problems are?
I think the main problem is lumping all of them together, actually. And I think it was only up until a couple of years ago that they started to track Afro-Caribbean and I suppose you would say Black African children as separate groups. And I think that the structure in terms of the education for both of those types of young people was different at a certain point. And so they would perform, say, especially Black African boys would perform very differently to some of the Black Caribbean boys. And then there was realised that there was a difference, and then money was put into students, minority students, and I think that allowed them to be more on par with each other. In fact, now the most underperforming group is white British, white working class. So I think that so long as people recognise that there is a difference between the different groups of black children at school, I think that's the most important thing, rather than lumping them all together and assuming just because they have the same skin colour that they have the same needs. Right,
okay. I do remember several years ago when they used to do the IQ test, and they always used to say young black children underperform in the IQ test. Yet it was found that when they changed the IQ test and changed it to more creative-based IQ test, they performed. So do you feel that the structure of teaching, obviously we're over in the West, and you can't come to somebody else's house and say to them, look, you have to change things according to us. But do you find that if young Nubian children were taught differently by the way that they absorb information and express information, there would be also maybe a change in their academic achievements?
I mean, I'll tell you about my style. My style is, as soon as I start teaching all those kids, I don't see the colour, I don't see the gender really. When you're planning, obviously you have to plan to meet the needs of the students. But as soon as you start teaching a lesson, it has to be, you have to forget about all of those, any boundaries. Of course you respect the differences between students. So I think there's not a one size fits all. And I think that learning styles in general, whether you're a visual, an auditory or a kinesthetic learner, that has to be catered for by educators regardless of colour or background. So again, I'd say the most important thing is recognising that our children are different, whether they're Caribbean, whether they're African, even postcode to postcode, there's differences, and the genders also, whether you're a black male or a black female. So I think the single thing that helps the most is recognising those sorts of individualities, not just in terms of colour, but in terms of the individual child. Okay.
And do you think economics also plays a part? You did mention postcode to postcode, and obviously different postcodes have different opportunities and then other opportunities. So did that play a major difference?
Yeah, I mean, and also attitudes towards parents, in the students' backgrounds. I remember, a while ago, as a senior leader within a school, there are conversations that happen sometimes around the table, and I remember one of my colleagues saying, these children, their parents don't aspire to be much. They're cleaners, they're, all sorts. And I said, well, actually, a lot of those parents have got so much motivation that they've left their home countries, they've travelled to the UK so that their children can have a better life, and they've sacrificed for them. So that doesn't change the fact, though, that financially and economically there are some serious issues, and there are certain experiences that some of our children won't have, but some of their classmates will have had, that will enrich their education and allow them to access a curriculum a lot more. So, yeah, I would definitely say that economically our children are at a disadvantage.
And obviously, being a deputy school teacher, do you work in the private sector or state schools?
So it's very strange. I myself had a private school education, and so it was a bit of a rude awakening, I think, when I started working in a secondary school, like in a comprehensive secondary school, and being smart wasn't always seen as being cool. And for me, that was a big big thing, a big deal for me. And I think that it doesn't matter if it's private or a state school education, so long as you can change the perspective and link learning to being seen as what's cool or what's trendy, I think that's the important thing.
Obviously, this event is to do with science and technology.
Yes.
Okay. How important is it, do you find, that young people should pick up science and technology, especially as the way that the world is moving, the technology, a lot of the events, what were presented here today, such as robotics, the solar panels, the different technical aspects. How important is that children get a grasp of fundamental science and where can it take them in the future? Because a lot of people look at science and think, well, I'm going to use that, what can I do with that? But what does it open up the doors to?
I mean, that's exactly what I was talking about. Is that there's some research that's been done by King's College University, and they looked at aspirations of young people, and they also talked to their parents, and the young people and their parents both agreed that science is interesting and scientists do important jobs, but when it came to the young people actually wanting to be a scientist and aspiring to be a scientist, very few of them did. And so the other thing they looked at is the sort of careers that young people do want to go into. And they found that a lot of the different careers that young people wanted to go into actually do link to science and technology, and STEM, science, technology, engineering and maths. And it's more a skills-based thing. Are you a creative thinker? Can you work as part of a team? Can you design things? Are you innovative? And those sorts of things apply to all different types of careers. And in the presentation I did, I was talking about the fact that we've got to get young people ready for careers that may not even exist yet. And they're great problem solvers. We saw, 6 and 7-year-olds putting together electronic kits and doing the robotic workshops, and I didn't think they'd be able to do it, but it was amazing. So if we tap into the potential that they have, then that's the best way, I think, to prepare them for science and technology careers in the future. In science and technology, engineering and maths covers practically every career you could go into.
Okay, a lot of our youth, we walk into any school playground, every young person's an MC. Okay,
Right.
If they're not an MC, they're friendlies.
Right, yeah.
Okay. And obviously a lot of our young people are very musically inclined, but maybe if the science, because I've been reading a book very recently called Pure Tones versus Musical Enslavement, and it goes into the music industry very much, but it also goes into the science behind music, the mathematics behind music. So do you feel that maybe if our young people were introduced to not just music, but also the science, understanding of octaves, the understanding of energy, the understanding of vibration, that music is vibration and so on and so forth. Do you think that would make a big difference into maybe not a problem with our children going into music, but at least them having an understanding or understanding of the science behind it, therefore creating a science interest or an interest in science?
I think there's two things. I think there's breadth and there's depth. So one thing I'd like to see is more than just, I suppose, what happens is a pigeonholing. Athletics and music. Even when you're teaching students, quite a few teachers on their syllabus and in their plans, they would say, right, so make up a rap to show this or to show that, even if it's not a music lesson. So in one sense it's good because they're trying to tap into what they perceive as quite popular within our young people's culture. But on the other hand, why not ask them to do an iambic pentameter, for example, or something that's really going to stretch them out of their comfort zone and give them the opportunities that they wouldn't normally have or be exposed to. So I would say in terms of breadth, they need to be exposed to a lot of other things. Secondly, I know a lot of young people, or even adults, who are into music and they can make beats and all sorts of things, but they can't read the notes. And I think, we need to go deep with our young people because they're very capable. If you are going to go into music, what about the production industry or engineering, music engineering, sound engineering, that side of things. I think around the whole typical music, I can't think what I'm going to say.
The whole kind of like typical grab a mic, let's spit a few bars.
Some bars, yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, in fact, that's something I would say I discourage in my classroom, and I don't want to dampen their talents, but I think sometimes our young people need to be more aware of how they come across and not revert to type. And sometimes we all do that, even as adults. We will. It is a sort of protective mechanism. But that's why I try to recognise when they're doing other things, I'll make a big deal out of it because I'm really glad to see it. I'm really glad to see them. It's quite a brave thing to do. If you're exposed to a certain thing all the time and being willing to try something new, and even though you might fail, getting back on the horse, so to speak, and trying again. And that's why I was talking about a growth mindset today, and that the potential that our young people have needs to be tapped into. So trying something different with them and exposing them to things that you wouldn't necessarily think they'd be interested in, it can be tricky at times, but it's well worth it in the end.
Okay. Well, you said to me at the beginning of this interview that I don't think I'm going to be very good. I don't know how you're going to come with. You know, you've just flowed.
Thank you.
You know, finally, to wrap it up, how would you, an event like this by ATL, which I know there's a lot more events coming up in the future, and also we've got Push TV within itself. Now, when you spoke about the bars, we're trying to promote, if people are going to get into that, we're trying to promote, well, at least utilise it to be academic, to be positive with, to use terminologies and words and wordplay, which is respected, so people can see there's intelligence behind that which is done.
Absolutely.
But in general, these type of events, what is the future and how important are these events for our young people?
I mean, and I wouldn't even say just for young people. There's one of my students, so hi Anna. I wouldn't even just say for young people. For myself, I have worked with as many of these events as I could have, and I really didn't know what it was going to be about. I didn't really know what to expect. I was actually stunned at the calibre of people that came up and talked to our young people. So first of all, I think our young people, if they can tap into and find where these sorts of events are being held, I think they're very fortunate, because I don't recall having that sort of inspiration or that sort of opportunity when I was younger. Secondly, I would say we need to have follow-ups, definitely have follow-ups, and make sure that we market ourselves correctly, so that young in a format that young people will understand, or in a format that will reach young people, whether it's through schools, through churches, or through parents themselves, so that we can sustain it and it's not just a one-off. If they do have an interest that sparked today, for example, where can they go to find out more? Not just going to see their science teacher or the technology teacher. Within their community, what is moving into their community or available in their community for them to sustain their interest.
Okay. I'd like to say thank you for the guest. She was very reluctant at first, like, I'm not too sure, but if you're listening, I think anybody out there who's watching this now will just think, can we have some more, please?
Thank you.
So we're going to try and get her on www.supremefmlive.net on the Coptic Essential show in the future, so we can continue this form of dialogue and information, and empowering our community to see not only education, but see images of colour within education. As deputy head teacher, my children go to a school where the head teacher is a Nubian woman, and it's very good to see, and I know it's happening a lot more in this day and time.
I would say even in my schooling, say in the 80s, it was there in pockets, but the opportunities to support that and outside of that and within the community weren't necessarily there. So we had other things that we had to kind of combat and put into place at that point in time. So this is something I'm very, very interested in. And I think that my main message would be that whatever it is our young people are going to do, whether it is music, whether it is science, whether it is technology, they do it and they do it well. Like you said, learn it inside out, use the right keywords, speak, use language in a way that as many people as possible are going to understand, and also so you get that respect that you deserve if you've worked hard at whatever your passion or interest is.
Okay, one more final question I have for you. Yes. What does the future hold for yourself? You've become qualified. You spoke earlier on about going out speaking to people, so on and so forth. What does the future hold for yourself? What is it that you're doing right now?
Well, as you say, I've spent a lot of years studying, and I've got my qualifications now, and I think I'm meant to help people serve, I don't know exactly in what shape or format as yet, but so I thought I was ready. I could just start my own business, go out there and do it. But actually what I'm finding is that it's actually taken a lot of time and a lot of effort to kind of push myself out there. For example, marketing myself and putting myself on social media. I mean, it took me a whole day to set up my LinkedIn, and that's taken me months to actually get to the point where I'm ready to do it. So I'm finding I'm having to learn a lot of new things. I love learning, and actually I find this quite exciting. I don't mind staying up into the early hours of the morning, you know, on WordPress, trying to build a website. But yeah, I mean, it's stuff I never really knew about before. I'm learning a whole new set of things.
Okay, and the website is what you're slowly building. The
Coming
business
soon. It's www.iConnectCoaching.co.uk, and it has a range of different coaches, whether it's social media coaches, marketing coaches, self-empowerment coaches, youth mentors, all connected together just to meet the needs of the people that need us, really.
Okay,
So, yeah.
Well, we may be able to assist. There's a few other straws in the hat which we're going to bring forward, which may be able to help support you in getting your business together. As you said, we have a radio show which would gladly promote that which you're doing, because we're trying to promote people in the community and get those voices out there. There are so much people doing so much great work that people would never ever hear of.
I really feel like there's a change in the air. I don't know what it is, but with the kinds of people that I'm meeting lately, that the universe is putting me in touch with lately, I do feel that there's a definite change in the air. I don't know what it is, but it's quite exciting.
Well, you know, we know what it is, but that's a conversation we could talk about another time. We're here with some of the young children who participated in today's event. How did you find the event?
We found it good.
We found some of the time difficult and some of the time hard, but we still went there in the end.
Okay, so some bits you found a bit difficult, and some bits were a lot easier than others. How did you find it?
Some of the same as what my friend Ron said, but they tested our brains and they also tested our team building.
Okay, and did you learn anything today? Is anything new that you learned?
I learned that you need teamwork to complete one challenge, that everybody can do this one thing at the same time, and it was really fun learning.
Okay, who else wants to say something? Something positive about today?
It was really fun computing and making coding stuff to move them turtle one way.
This was in the robotics class?
Yeah.
Okay, so did you enjoy the actual process of making the robot?
Yes, it was really fun because you have to try use these electric things and try and make it go the same way, and you have to use teamwork as well.
Okay. So what about you, young man? How did you find it today?
Good.
What did you enjoy?
I enjoyed making the robot.
Enjoyed making the robot. Excellent. Okay. Anything else we learned? There was go on.
I found that ATL learning was a fun way to learn because you learn different stuff in different ways.
Okay. And
I also found out what STEM means.
And what does it mean?
Science, technology, engineering, mathematics.
Okay, so those subjects, after coming to an event like this, because obviously you've learned quite a lot. Who here now is looking to become interested in science or science-related subjects?
I would become a a person who does music, sound, and different stuff.
Sounds. There is a science. We were just talking to a teacher, and there is an actual science behind music. It's more than just notes. You know, there is an actual science. What about you, young man? What is it this has inspired you to become?
I wanted to be a maths teacher.
You want to be a maths teacher? Okay, that's good. You think you're going to be a good maths teacher?
Yeah.
Excellent. And yourself?
Science technology person.
You're going to be a science technology person. What about this little person down here? You want to be a doctor? So was you inspired by the lady who was speaking about being a doctor? Yeah? So all in all, this event's been a very good event. Yeah? Do you think we need more of these events?
Yeah, we need.
Yeah?
We learned what was fun. We done
done fun learning.
You done fun learning. What was the most fun part? Because learning can be fun, can't it? What's the most fun part?
When we had to work in teams to make the things on the table.
Right. Okay. So.
Make the toys. When we had to make the toys from scratch.
How about the Rubik's Cube? Does anyone complete the Rubik's Cube?
No, so
what?
I tried it.
Did you get just one face?
Yeah, I got.
Are you sure?
I got 3.
No, I never came. I never saw none with no 3 faces on. I've seen they're all. Are you sure you just didn't get one square?
Well, at one time I got yellow. At one time I got green. I'm not saying that I got yellow, green, and blue all at the same time.
But they all have to test the mind, don't they, and get you thinking. Okay. So in the future, you're going to be the new generation who's going to be putting on events like this. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. That's cool. And what inspired you to come down here today with this group of young boys and girls?
Okay, because we're a Saturday school based in Abbeywood, South East London. We work with children ages 5 to 12 of African and Caribbean descent, and at the moment we're studying inspirational women. So when they go back next week, they'll be doing inspirational women in science. Because it is Science Week this week. So the reason why we've come down today is purely because we've worked with the host of the event today before, and we're really impressed with the work that she does, and it's very similar to what we do. And we felt that the children would really benefit from seeing the speakers that she had lined up and taking part in some of the events and really getting their hands in there with different science and mathematics and engineering projects, and we felt that would be a good fit for us.
Okay, so it definitely achieved what you thought it would achieve.
It definitely
and you can see the feedback of the young people. They definitely had a great time and most definitely participated and took something home with them.
They definitely did. They really excelled in, especially the robotics. I think the initial session was designed for much older children, but they, went with it. They did what they could do. It's Lego at the end of the day, and I think if they have the interest in learning something, if you present it to them in a way that is interesting and fun, they will pick it up. And surprisingly, the girls picked it up very quickly.
Well, I mean, there is a secret about women, especially when you're saying about science and technology and dealing with great women and so on and so forth. But there is definitely a difference between men and women, and you're first to hear it here. Scientifically, it's a proven fact that the women came first. You heard that. You heard that from a man right here. So that's something which this is things we have to inspire. We have to use science to go into the root of who and what we are as a people, and things which we knew, in the great civilizations of old. Certain things that we knew, which we no longer know today, and maybe modern science doesn't quite pick up or understand things or concepts. I think that you had the brother who was talking about the language and the binary and all that language, and these are ancient African principles. So I definitely feel, and maybe you'd concur, that not only is it about educating our young people, but definitely having an Afrocentric view of science, which kind of some things correlate with science as it is today, and some things are far more advanced, and the rest of the world is waiting to catch up with.
That's the thing, and I think it's unfortunate that a lot of the younger generation doesn't realise that most of science is based in Africa.
That's right.
The history and origin of a lot of the things that we do today comes from practices that were practiced hundreds of years ago in Africa. And what's really good about events like this, it brings it home for the children. So not only the Afrocentric side of things, but also the female side of things, which was really good for the young girls to see that there are women in science, there are black women excelling in fields in medicine, and we had a deputy head teacher, I believe, and a GP. So it's nice for the children to actually see women in those roles actually fulfilling their potential and saying that you too can do these things. So,
and the Saturday school teachers.
Well, exactly.
People don't realise how important education is and roles, and especially having role models. So we take our hats off to the great work that you're doing, and do look out for Got Kush TV. We're going to be on a media platform, so I know that young people, media is second nature. So you'll be able to see a lot of the great stuff we've done, and we make sure we inform yourself when this stuff goes out to
Yeah, we'd love
thing.
to
Would you
watch
like to give your Saturday school a little plug quickly whilst you
If
can?
I may, we are LPF Kiddies Club. We're based in Abbey Woods. Our email is lpf-kidsclub@hotmail.co.uk. So if you want to get in contact with us, find out what we do. Our website's rather long, but if you search LPF Kiddies Club, you will find us. Thank you.
That's LPF Kiddies Club. Well, I'd like to thank you, young children. Do you enjoy what you do on a Saturday?
Yeah.
Going Saturday to school. And have you got a great teacher?
Yes.
She is, isn't she? Fantastic. Look,
Oh, amazing.
you young guys are the future, and we exist as older people to try and create a better future for yourselves as younger people, because one day you're going to be standing up here with these mics, with these cameras, or finding cures for diseases, or all the great stuff which we haven't done. You're going to run with. True or false? True.
I think that's the thing, getting them to realise that it is a possibility, that it's not something that is so far from being normal, that it is a reality that is achievable by themselves. And I think that events like this brings it home to them. It allows them to see that yes, they can do these things, and also it lets them realise that they're relevant to them, because a lot of the time they don't realise how relevant science is to them. They understand the maths and English relevance, but not the science or the engineering or the technology. So it was really, really good.
Let me give you something very quickly. Yeah. You know where Egypt is? You've heard of Egypt?
Yeah.
See, Egypt is.
Africa.
It's in Africa. Okay, it's in Africa.
of what
Not
some might
Middle
say.
East.
Thank
It's
you.
in Africa. Okay, and when you go and look on the pyramids and walls, you see people look just like yourself. Yeah, which are dark-skinned young people. This is the people built, and they built. Obviously, you've heard of the pyramids.
Yeah.
Do you know what? Not one company today. Okay, not one engineering company, whether it be across Europe, China, or any place where they've got all these massive engineering companies, they can still not figure out how you, I say you, because it was grandparents and great parents, built these massive pyramids. So we're going to need a few more of these pyramids in the future. So you better get your science. You better get your science right. Okay, young people, take care. And have a great journey on.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
There was empires in Africa called Kush, Timbuktu, where every race came to get books. My success to you, even if you wish me the opposite. Sooner or later, we'll all see who the prophet is.
Come on.
Ravioli.
So this is part of the robotics workshop.
So over there we were doing some programming.
Children will be learning basic electronic skills to create their own robot, designing their own models out of Lego. Did you guys design models out of Lego yet? That's something that you're going to be doing later. And then you'll be adding it to a circuit as well. This takes place on this floor. If you want to take part on it, it is a paid workshop, which is £12 and it lasts approximately 2 hours. And we've got 2 sessions, one taking place earlier on and another one taking place at 12:30. And then there's a solar panel workshop. Has anyone else done that yet? No. Cool. So that's taking place on this floor. That workshop's £8 and that actually starts at 2 p.m, which is why no one's done it. So if you want your child to be nature conscious, then that might be the task for you. Or if you children want to be nature conscious, then that might be something. You're saying yes. Yeah? Cool. And then there's a one-to-one computer coding. I think that's what you guys were doing, yeah? Where you learn basic programming tools to learn how to do your own video game. Ooh! And the workshop is free of charge, but you need to register. But if you can just do that, take over there. So if anyone wants to do one-on-one computer coding, you can do that over there, yeah? So who likes singing and rapping?
Yeah, because I like rap.
You like rapping, singing, rapping? Oh, we're going to do a little something later. You've already done the team building thing where you've done the maze challenge. Who's done the maze challenge? Who's done the bubble science? Lovely. How did you find that bubble science task? It's fine. And what was the... I saw you building this from scratch. You guys done so well. Give them a round of applause. Who saw the bubble task? Who saw that bubble machine? I saw it. Well, good. So tell them about the what you found, how you found that task.
We found it okay, and we
And if you could have done one thing again, what would you do again? If you could start it again, what would you do different? Read the instructions. Read the instructions. I bet a few of you guys are going to say that. And what did you like most about that task? The bubbles. Yeah. The end result. Cool. Excellent. Well done. So a round of applause for Malachi and his lovely sister who's on the task. What was your name? Maya. Malachi and Maya. Well done. And then there was another machine, 3D animations. That was a really young team. No, that was a really young team. I don't think they're here. But they done a task that was spinning round and round. Did you guys see that? That's right. Now with that task, you had to put the men in specific numbers. So if you go ahead and try and do a task or try to build something without watching the instructions or reading the instructions, what happens if you don't read the instructions? You don't get it correct. What else happens? You might end up doing something really wrong. It won't work. That's right. So if you don't go ahead and read instructions, you're just making your life a little bit more difficult, right, kids? Have you guys ever watched your dad try and build a table and seen how wrong he goes? Because he hasn't watched the instructions, you know? So it's all about that. So even in school, in tasks, just read the instructions. It makes your life so much easier, right, kids? Cool. Her name is Brenda Nebura. Well pronounced. And she's perfect. She's the deputy head at St Matthew's Academy, who'll be speaking about the winning attitude necessary to achieve and excel in science and any other subject. So can we have a round of applause for Brenda?
It's been great working with you this morning. I was really, really surprised at how well you did. So, technology today is failing a little bit, but we're going to do the best that we can. When I prepared this, it was really for young people, not quite as young as yourselves, so you're going to have to bear with me, and I'm going to have to try to adapt what I'm saying as well. So, I'm hoping that we can talk about how to prepare for a world of science and technology. If everything goes according to plan, you'll understand a definition of science and technology. You'll look at careers linked to science and technology, and how to be successful in studying science and technology. And then there's some key words which I've heard some of you using already. Science, technology, engineering, maths, careers, and mindset. I got quite excited when I heard somebody mention mindsets earlier on, because I'm all about that. So the first thing I was going to say to you is that computer games can be used for learning. The computer can be used for learning. I mean, really, really. Rather than being on, I don't know, you're too young to be on Facebook anyway, you can use technology to help you to learn. And some interesting research is that in this country, about 70% of teenagers or young people have handheld games consoles. And about 90% of you have a computer at home and a mobile phone. Even at your age, probably. Hands up if you've got a mobile phone. Hello. This is one of my students. Right, but teachers, of course, unlike myself, most teachers don't own any of that. They don't own handheld consoles. You've thrown me now. They don't own handheld consoles, and they don't use technology to help students to learn. But there are lots of different things that you can do using technology to learn better.
So we're now going to be working with a team called WISE, W-I-S-E, which stands for Women in Science and Engineering. And Abby Cecil is the lady that's going to be leading that. So can we have a round of applause, please, for Abby?
I'm going to talk about a very similar thing than the lady who just went up before me. So science, technology, engineering and maths. Can someone tell me what the abbreviation for that was?
STEM.
Yeah, so I'm going to talk to you about STEM stuff today, but in particular, technology and programming. So who had a go at the programming challenges today? Oh, right. Who did some programming? Who did a little bit of robotics? Yeah? Great. I study computer science, so I'm a computer scientist in training, or a programmer in training. One of the first programmers was a young lady called Ada Lovelace. And this was ages and ages and ages ago. This was about 200 years ago. And this lady called Ada, she was married to a very, very wealthy man. And she worked as, and she loved doing her hair, and she loved going out, and she loved having her makeup done, and she was a very, very girly girl. Her father said, "Oh, we don't want you getting into, we don't want you getting into programming or anything like that. You need to do something nice like dance, or you need to do something else." But she did do a lot of research for a man called Charles Babbage, and part of her research, Charles Babbage was the people's first computer. It's a big, big machine that you saw earlier. That is probably a descendant of the first computer, of Charles Babbage's ideas. And so this lady, Ada Lovelace, she was writing a paper about the world's first computer, and she said, "Well, hang on a minute. How do I give this computer instructions? How is that going to work?" And so in her little research paper, she wrote some notes on the side, and she said, "Well, I think it should work like this. Like you said, I think you should be able to write some instructions into a computer, and then it does what you tell it to. And I think you should be able to do that in whatever language you want." And she had lots and lots of really, really interesting ideas about how interesting computers work. And so Ada Lovelace was the first computer programmer. So it wasn't like one of those guys with crazy wiry hair that was muttering about.
This event was the event for children to get in touch, get closer to people that are into science, that are humans like you and me. Anyone can be a scientist, and there's no excuse as to why any child should limit themselves. That's what I would say.
Okay, so it's onwards and upwards for ATL for 2015 on into 2016, and furthermore, I know you've been doing this for many years.
Yes, well, the next thing that I would like to do with ATL is to create a nursery, and in this nursery I would like to have children have a science and language orientation already from very young age. I think that children shouldn't wait to Key Stage 2 to learn a language, or shouldn't wait any further for science. It starts right in the nursery. So we have the mindset of, if we nurture the scientist, the scientific mind of thinking from nursery, I think that is the ground, so children are prepared. There's no "I can't" attitude. The mindset is right from the very beginning, and the children will see no limitation as to whatever is put in front of them. They will have the thinking of, "I can do this, that, and beyond." That's the idea.
There was empires in Africa called Kush, Timbuktu, where every race came to get books.
Yeah. I once heard a man say, "You don't have to be great to get started, but you have to get started in order to be great."
And today is a Science and Tech Excellent event to celebrate British Science Week. Who knew it was British Science Week? So, as you're aware, we've had quite a few workshops. We've got a robotics workshop, which has already taken place, and children will be learning basic electronic skills to create your own robots. Who's already done that task? Have you already done that? Yeah? Come here and talk me through that.
I was doing programming.
Yeah?